So I want to start with Saturday night, 24 hours earlier, the game in Charlotte between Georgia and Clemson. And everyone has a different opinion on this game. What is yours?
Well, right now, had these two teams played at full strength, I was leaning pretty heavily towards Georgia, to be honest with you, Paul. And that's not really taking anything away from Clemson. It was really more just very proud of the progress that Georgia's made. However, I don't think fall camp's been very kind to the Georgia Bulldogs. We know that Eric Gilbert is nowhere to be found associated with the program. He was supposed to potentially be that matchup nightmare on the perimeter at wide receiver, but he's not with the team at this moment. George Pickens, his availability is still a little bit up in the air. Number one wide receiver who tore his ACL in April. You have a center that's been a little beat up, and now he's trying to learn how to snap with the opposite hand by all accounts. You have a couple of players on the defensive side of the football, Tyke Smith in particular, that has been a little beat up as well. And then I look, too, at what they have right now at quarterback. And while I love JT Daniels, I don't know if he's the best quarterback option in the game. I remember watching DJ Uiagalelei last year and felt like DJ Uiagalelei, against really solid competition, performed adequately, that solid competition being Notre Dame. He went on the road, and yeah, they lost that game, but he threw for over 400. And Travis Etienne, who, of course, was an All-American candidate himself, he rushed for about 28 yards on 18 carries, so the run game was a non-factor, and yet DJ gave him a chance. So I look at this matchup, and I think right now, if I had to pick it, I think Clemson is the team that's had the better fall camp, is a team that's healthier at this point, is a team that has a better track record in games like this. Paul, if you look at AP matchups involving the Georgia Bulldogs, there have been 12 all-time. Georgia's 3-9. Clemson, on the other hand, is 9-6 in AP top 5 matchups. So I'm leaning with the Tigers at this point.
Okay. Let the Twitter mentions begin. Greg McElroy joining us. And Greg, I'll act like I don't know your answer for this, but I was with you about 10 hours ago on your morning show in Beeham, and I was expecting you to make a case for Miami, because I hear from Miami fans about how different this year is than 2 years ago when they laid an egg against Florida. And yeah, I just want to believe in Miami that the Canes are back. So you agree with me, right?
I do not, Paul. I think Miami is actually going to be quite good, and I think you can make a pretty solid argument that they're the best team in the ACC Coastal. Is it them or North Carolina? Last year, of course, it was North Carolina that got the better of Miami there and ultimately got a chance to play in the Orange Bowl. But I think Miami, what they've done this past year, there's a lot of things to be encouraged about. I think obviously, Derek King was excellent last year, coming off an ACL, but he's at full strength. They feel like he's been ready to roll and has been cleared since June, so it won't be any limitations there. But what Miami still hasn't addressed, Paul, is the offensive line. And I don't remember the last time I watched a Miami offensive line and said, that group right there, that's an elite group. If anything, the Miami offensive line in the last 5 or 6 seasons has been a bit of a liability. And going against a defensive line that features not just capable players on the inside, but Will Anderson is kind of a stand-up outside linebacker that can breathe fire off the edge. And that's a bad recipe, knowing that your quarterback might not be as mobile as he was a year ago, knowing he's coming off of a knee surgery. So I think this game is won and lost in the trenches. And right now, the advantage in the trenches that Alabama has against Miami's offensive line is significant. So I think this game could get sideways. I would be surprised if Miami didn't try to utilize tempo early in the game to try to challenge Alabama with their tempo, with their substitutions, and with it being week 1, knowing you only had 9 padded practices, Miami probably thinks that tempo is going to be able to be used to their advantage. But I have a difficult time thinking that they can sustain it throughout 4 quarters in the game. And ultimately in the second half, after what's probably going to be a little bit of an uncomfortable first half, I think ultimately in the second half, Alabama pulls away and distances themselves by at least 2 or 3 touchdowns.
Talking to Greg McElroy, 2 or 3 touchdowns puts me in an awkward position. Which one is it? Because I'm watching that
I know
board.
I know why you're asking that. I know why you're asking. I would say lean towards 3 touchdowns,
okay.
Paul. I think they cover that number comfortably.
And what time do I call your 900 number Saturday morning to get the rest of your picks?
Well, Paul, depending on where you're at and what time zone you're in, I think it could be fairly early. There's plenty of action on Thursday and Friday night, and if things go sideways for you, you might be trying to look to get out of a hole there on Saturday morning when you're on the set on SEC Nation.
Well, I will miss you because I do remember that only one season that you spent with us, but it was memorable. There are still stories being told about that.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.